99 FM, your inspiration station. Yes, it's almost time to say goodbye. But like I promised, I did have an interview for you. And guess what? The person is in the studio. John Hafeni Kamati, a motivational speaker, trainer, marketing consultant, and gospel minister, amongst many things. But this time around, we have him in the studio because of his expertise with relationship and marriage counseling. He's here today to talk to us about understanding the intricacies of relationships and what makes them work. We'll also find out from him how important communication is between partners and married couples. So good afternoon to you, Mr. Kamati, and thank you so much for joining us here on 99 FM.
Thank you so much. It's such an awesome pleasure to be here. Beautiful place. It's
Thank
really,
you.
I wouldn't want to say this loud, but I think this is the most beautiful studio I've been to.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kamati, let's get straight into it. What would you say are the fundamental foundations of a strong relationship?
Thank you. I think I'm a certified marriage and relationship counselor. Mm-hmm. So I deal a lot with people that have issues either pre or during or post marriage.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I think is very important is knowledge. So a lot of people experience problems because of ignorance. And I think one of the major foundational truth, if one can put it that way, for a successful relationship is first of all understanding the purpose of the relationship.
Yeah. Why are we in this relationship?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think people get into relationships and also as times have changed, people get into a relationship and it has become I see people are getting in it much looser. When I say loose in the sense that there isn't very clear defined purpose, and many a times actually for short-term purposes, in as much as just as short-term as having a one-night stand. But I'm talking about relationships in terms of building a foundation, and what is it that makes it strong? It's like anything else, you've got to exercise it, and you've got to know the purpose for it, and then work towards that. Being honest with yourself, being vulnerable sufficiently to realize that this is why I'm in it, and therefore it brings the issue of communication, that how do you get to know what this is all about if you don't verbalize it and make your intentions and your expectations very clear. I also therefore speaks about stages of relationship. And I for me, relationships should ultimately end up in a long-term relationship of marriage. So I think every stage of a relationship should have its own parameters, it should have its boundaries, and it should have its expectations within those boundaries. So when you're dating, for example, you better know that we are in here to get to know one another, and knowing one another with boundaries, with limitations. So I'm old school. I would say that if we're dating, there's nothing like kissing. There's I sound like a dinosaur right now.
A little bit,
a little bit. I'm just using that as an example.
Of course.
If I am in a relationship with you and I am not married with you, or we are not married, do I take responsibility to provide for you? Am I your provider? It sounds very harsh, but it is very important to define the relationship in the stages where it's at. And that builds a stronger foundation for when you ultimately, because we are working towards developing this relationship, that you exactly then can appreciate, because you are working intentionally and purposefully towards something.
Mr. Kamati, why do you think it's so difficult, or some people struggle to communicate their feelings, intentions, and expectations in relationship? Why do you think people are scared to do that?
Yes, very, very good question. Because I think if anything that one cannot overemphasize is the fact that we must communicate. Communicate. And if at all the beginning phases of your relationship is actually the time to talk. People sometimes, I would always say it's ignorance. A lot of time I find that, wow, these are such people, I just was counseling some people this afternoon, and so these are such awesome couple. They have all the potentials and the qualities to complement one another, but then because they've got two diverse backgrounds. The one is in a relationship reactively based on the baggage that they have brought in the relationship. So they are with this person and they are not even seeing the qualities of this person because they very defensive, very self-protective in a destructive way. So, people are also afraid to communicate because they don't want to repeat either failures of previous relationships. And people also just don't communicate because they don't know better. And I think sometimes people also have very the motives and intentions of why they are in a relationship make it such that it's not that they are just afraid, but they also are very strategic with the truth and with what they want to release.
Exactly. That's true. That's very true.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. Also, what are more productive, Mr. Kamati, more productive ways one should communicate with their partner? Is there a more productive way to communicate with one's partner?
Oh, yes. I think when you say productive, in other words, it must yield a fruit. It must bring a result.
Yeah.
And the purpose for communication is to be understood, or rather to express your emotions, your feelings, your intentions, your expectations. Productive ways, I think, are very important that you communicate with the right attitude, tone, and also, emotions. For example, if you're angry, that's not the time to say stuff. If you are emotional. But also intentionally and purposefully making time to discuss the reason why we are in this thing. Is very important. One of the things that I tell people that I think is very important, especially at the beginning of relationships, people need to understand that you are an individual. You are you have a purpose for yourself. You have dreams and visions. I think it's very important that you understand about your vision. When I say vision, just the journey that you want to have in life. And acknowledge that and recognize that when you are getting in a relationship with somebody else, that person is also an individual with their own dreams. So it's very clear to communicate your vision, what you want in life. And then if you make a commitment to go this journey together, it's also important to have a joint vision that accommodates the two of you, because that then also helps you to become a team. It kind of gives you a constitution of the to-dos and not to do's. And it also helps you to actually be a team, because you have a kind of common goal, but that also understand and accommodate the other person. So in that regard, you should also have a intellectual, if I can put it that way, discussion. Sometimes a selfish discussion. Selfish in the sense that I'm talking about myself in this relationship. And then also a communication that is empathetic and sympathetic, understanding towards the other person's needs and visions. I would say it sounds all a mouthful, but I think, again, I would say communication. Learn to know one another in all your faults, your vulnerabilities. It's part of the growth process. Have also definite things like conflict resolution, agreements or guidelines, because at one point or the other, you're bound to step on one another.
It's bound to happen.
Oh, yes, it will. If it doesn't, I'll be very worried.
I think also sorry for interrupting, Mr. Kamati. What you just mentioned right now, that, you know, when you're in a relationship, the idea is to understand that it's two individuals who are coming together. So as individuals, like you mentioned, we have our own individual goals, individual dreams, and things we want to do individually. But then again, there comes that time when we have to do something together. So I think the downfall also comes in that at some point, as individuals, it can be either way, man or woman, that you would forget about yourself as an individual and give too much of yourself to the next person.
In fact, that has been really something that I have observed in especially with people that are married and all of a sudden find themselves that they now are standing at a point of divorce. I have seen this countless time, and sorry to say that I find that in my experience, and maybe this is not the norm, but what I have been exposed to is that women seem to be always the victims of this thing. You get in a relationship with dreams, with visions, with potentials, and because
you fall in love.
You are a mother, you then give up, you know, of your, or even in agreement. I've had a situation where the husband specifically requested that the wife should not do anything, she should be a housewife. However, this person is highly educated in terms of, in a professional line where she could have made a living and also have found self-actualization. And now you find that all of a sudden you are slapped with a divorce summons. You have kind of suspended your life, and that includes things like you don't even have finances anymore because you have so much been dependent, in trusting, and all of a sudden you find that, wow, your life and your destiny is in somebody else's
hands.
And that is another thing, maybe while I'm talking about destiny, is the fact that especially marriage. I'm for marriage. I'm for marriage very much so. I think it's a beautiful thing. I'll be celebrating my 30th wedding anniversary
30 years.
this
That's
year.
amazing. What's the secret? What's the secret?
This
Can I ask
is what
you that?
we are talking about.
Okay.
It's a love thing. But love is painful. Love is a decision. You know, we're celebrating Easter now. Jesus went to the cross. It wasn't easy. And yet that was the expression of God's ultimate love to mankind. So relationships they determine and shape your destiny. If you commit to get involved with somebody and go with them the long haul, remember that decision, that commitment is actually signing up your destiny, how it will work out. And you cannot just be in a relationship with an attitude like que sera, sera, you know, what shall be, shall be. No, you cannot be in a relationship with an attitude that, life happens. No, life happens, not to you, but with you. Participate in it. Similarly in a relationship.
All right, Mr. Kamati, before we let you go, finally, if you have the top 5 tips for building a lasting relationship, what tips can you give for any person tuning in right now for a lasting relationship?
I think I would say this with qualification that I understand that people are so unique. Relationships are so unique based on the personalities that are involved. They are unique idiosyncrasies. What makes them tick between them. But I think we have spoken over it for quite some time now. I think, first of all, understanding yourself, having a sense of purpose, a sense of confidence in who you are, or a sense of knowing. It's important because then you don't sell yourself cheap. You don't give yourself up cheap, and you also do not subjugate other people in the relationship because sometimes you can just bulldoze. So have a sense of identity and purpose as to who you are. Communicate because that's part. And remember that you are not static. You grow, you evolve. When you are in this thing as a single lady, 2, 3, 5 years, you are a mother. You are also a father. So values change. Be fluid, if I can use that word. Be able to adjust to the seasons and the times of the relationship. You can't want to act like you were acting. Maybe in some aspects of the relationship, it's nice, like running after each other if you can, whatever age you are, if your house permits. which big speak to me, which express love to one another.
Yeah.
Appreciate and know your love language. Many people don't understand that. My wife likes quality time. She likes to cuddle. I'm much more again I think the loner in a way.
Okay.
I love affirmation though. I love, you gotta compliment me. That will make me. If you make me feel good, I'll even eat off the floor. Yeah, but anyway, get to tune in to that person's unique idiosyncrasy, what makes them tick, appreciate, value it, and feed in it, and you therefore feed it, and you will actually enjoy the best of your differences.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable, be honest. Now that again, I have to say that with qualification, because you don't want to be vulnerable and be abused. But for any relationship to function and to breathe, if I can put it that way, there must be a certain level of nakedness, in the sense that I must feel comfortable knowing that you've got my back covered, and you know that I've got some stretch marks and I've got some, I don't have a six pack, I've got a one pack, and you still, stuff like that. And then again, learn these things, therefore then build up onto trust. I think trust is very important key. And that is built as you get to know one another, and don't be shy to express your love, but also don't shy away from failures. When I say failures, in all various respects, sometimes you do mistakes, and it is out of those mistakes that you learn. So I think, as many as we are, and as you will find 5 different couples, and for each of them, they've got different set of fundamentals that will work for them. But I think when the word I want to use is be fluid. In other words, be sensitive, be purposeful, be intentional about it, and make and work on it. When we talk about strong, to be strong, you gotta work the muscle. Work that love muscle.
Work the love muscle. I like that. Work the love muscle.
I'm talking of the muscle as in its entirety, spiritual, emotional, physical, and intellectually, and all those things.
Mr. Kamati, thank you so much for making time to come chat with us. I think women like me, men who are listening right now, who are single, in relationships or married, could really use that advice. So thank you so much for coming through and to chat with us about relationships.
Thank you. Such a pleasure, and I look forward to coming again.
Yes, we look forward to inviting you again.
All right. Thank you so much, Tracy.
All right, my pleasure. Mr. Kamati in the studio, of course, talking about all things relationships, what it takes to be in a, good and loving relationship. There's so many things that go into it, and like you mentioned, different things work for different people.